Today we are making my favorite chocolate cake and the most popular chocolate cake recipe on my blog, and we're making it to feed 2 to 4 people. It's the same rich, moist, delicious chocolate cake, just in small batch form. Join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. For today's chocolate cake, we're going to use a 6-inch pie tin, and I have sprayed it, I have floured it, and I've lined the bottom with a little piece of parchment paper or wax paper. Just makes it easier to get that cake out of the pan. Now, the chocolate lovers at your house are going to go crazy over this cake. It is my most requested cake, and it starts with a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm going to use canola oil, but you could also use a vegetable oil. We are going to add in a 1/2 cup of sugar. And we're going to add in 1 egg and a 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And I think buttermilk makes a big difference in this cake. So if you don't have buttermilk on hand or can't get it, I'm going to leave you some options down below on how you can make your own buttermilk. So we're going to add that in, mix that all together, and then we'll be ready to add our dry ingredients. Before we add in a dry, let's not forget our vanilla. We're going to add in about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of vanilla, and I always just eyeball it. So we've got that in. Then for our dry ingredients, we're going to use a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and I just like to scoop and then scrape off the top. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of, baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. We'll mix all that together. And then we are going to add in a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. Now you can use, I'm using semi-sweet today, but you could use dark chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate, whatever your preference or whatever you've got. And if you don't have chocolate chips, these can always be left out, but I love them because they make nice little pockets of melted chocolate in your cake. All right, after we have the dry ingredients all incorporated with the wet ingredients, we'll add in those chocolate chips. And, 1/4 cup, you could add in a few more if you want. And then we are going to take our prepared pan. We've got our oven preheating to 350 degrees. We're just going to pour our cake batter in. Make sure you scrape it all out. You want to make sure you get all of that chocolate goodness out of the bowl. Then we're ready to pop it into the oven, and we are going to, I got to check my directions. We are going to bake it in the oven, 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. Our cake has baked. It has cooled for 10 minutes in the pan. Then I've taken it out of the pan and let it completely cool. And we're going to mix up our ganache. Now, if you'd rather do buttercream, I'm going to link down below to my buttercream recipe. You can totally do that. But I think ganache just gives it more chocolate for all those chocolate lovers, but I think it makes it look a little fancier too. So in my bowl, I have melted a 1/2 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Again, you could use dark, milk chocolate, whatever you have. I like to melt them in the microwave. If you do that, just do it like in 30-second increments because they can burn really easy in the microwave. But you can also use a double boiler or a saucepan on the stove top. So into my 1/2 cup of melted chocolate chips, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. Mix that all up. And then into this, and this is what's going to give that ganache its shine, is a little bit of corn syrup. If you don't have corn syrup, you don't want to use corn syrup, you can totally leave this out, but this does give it a nice pretty shine. And I'm only going to use like a 1/4 teaspoon, just a little bit. Mix that all up. All right, nice and sweet. So I'm going to grab a piece of parchment paper. I'm going to put it underneath my cake, and just to catch all the dribbles to make it clean up easier. And I'm going to take my ganache, and I just start in the center of the cake, smoothing it down, working towards the edges. And what I want to try to get it to do is to drip down the sides of the cake. So there we go. Depending on how thin or thick your ganache is. We going? All right. All the way around. And then you can just let this set up for bit and your cake is ready to serve. Perfect, like I said, for 2 to 4 people. A great Valentine's Day dessert, a birthday dessert. And if you really love chocolate, make sure you check out my chocolate Texas sheet cake for 2 up there and my chocolate brownies for 2. 2 other great chocolate desserts. This really is the perfect and the best chocolate cake. Perfect for when that chocolate craving hits and you don't need an entire cake, enough to share with 2 to 4 people, and it's delicious. Then all you have to do is cut yourself a slice. So thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. Make sure you check out some of my other small batch recipes and small batch desserts by clicking down below, and I'll see you in the next video.